Use introduce yourself first, since it's the first time you're casting.
All right. So are you going to use my camera point of view or?
Yeah, I'm just gonna be using my point of view.
All right, your point of view.
Yep.
All right. Before we introduce our players, what is up and hello guys? It's your boy Malopate from StarCraft Philippines, and I am blessed to be casting this game with main Nameless. So welcome. Good evening and happy dinner time to our Southeast Asian friends and to our Korean friends. But without further ado, let's introduce our players. Onto the upper right corner of Beckett Industry LE, representing Team Singapore, we've got Scruffy. And representing our Korean representatives, onto the bottom left corner of Beckett Industries LE, we've got the Red Terran, XellOs. Alright, so I've been familiar with your show matches for a very long time now. I've actually played in 1-2. Tell me, what's your process on how did you gather the Singaporean and Philippine players?
So I think this is the second time we have done the show match between the Korean clans. So this time, I think actually both times the Korean captain has approached me for show matches. So
yeah,
he also requested that we have 4 people within 4,000 to 5.4 thousand.
Yeah.
Yep. So fortunately, we are able to get players within the MMR, and yeah, I think that they just make things happen.
Alright, so Scruffy would be our Singaporean representative, opting to go for standard as of the moment, and same goes for our Terran players. One main difference when I am laddering in NA and in Korea is that Korean players tend to be more cheesier, or they have their own meta. I would say it that way. And for NA, especially in Singapore, it's either Korean Smurfs or pretty much standard all the time. And here comes the first Reaper. Would be scouting out. Would be getting the first initial scout here. Good control from both of our players here. And it would be an interesting feat, especially for me as a caster, since it's going to be my first time to be casting these players. Unlike my experience in the StarCraft Philippines scene, where I could prepare for it in a very technical way, like I have my tabs on the players, stuff like that, how they play, how they react to certain kinds of situation. So it's really going to be an interesting feat for me. So thank you, Nameless, for inviting me as a guest caster here.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yep, and I think one thing to highlight, one interesting thing to highlight is Scruffy. He hasn't been playing a lot. He hasn't been playing a lot of StarCraft lately. He just came back recently, and one interesting point is his Protoss MMR is actually higher than his Zerg MMR. Even though his Zerg is his main race. Yep.
Well, it's always good to hear about returning players. It happened to the Philippine scene also, back in December, where the old players, well, not that old, but the OGs, the veterans came back. Back then, there was a thing in the Philippines called the 3 Pillars from Team Mineski. It was Ender, Pobes, and Jabito, if you're familiar with him. Like Terran, Protoss, and Zerg gods in the Philippines. But last December, they managed to do a comeback on the Philippine scene, and they're active once again, except for Jabito, since he's working abroad, I think. But it's always good to see returning players, especially Scruffy. How long was he gone, though?
I'm pretty sure he has been gone for at least a few months here.
Yeah, right. And still returning and still sitting around at 4K MMR is really an interesting thing to see here. We're going to see the Hellions already moving out across the map here. Beckett has a really short distance, so we'll see how XellOs would use this Hellions at his disposal.
Yep, and I think one thing to take note is he actually has finished Concussive Shells and he has Marauders producing, so I think this is going to be a very heavy Marauder Hellbat push coming in.
Yeah. I remember when there was the meta in the Korean server where there would be Vikings, Medevats, and Marauder pushes all the time. And as a Zerg, it's really annoying to deal with, Sometimes queens are not enough to deal with it. Sometimes you need more banelings or you're forced to do some roach transition. So we'll see here what would be the reaction coming onto the side of Scruffy, as here comes the push onto the side of XellOs. And the armory is already halfway done here. And we are expecting quite a punch here onto the side of XellOs, already moving on to the 11 o'clock side of the map here. Good positioning here onto the side of XellOs. This is a deep seal here, but a little bit of overextension would spell a little bit of disaster here. Scruffy needs to target these medevacs. Oh my goodness, but the Banelings are right on time, and I think he could clean this up pretty easily. Good plays and good reactions onto the side of Scruffy, but I think this is not enough. Oh my goodness. The medevac, one more hit, and it would escape. Ooh, that was a little bit tight from both of our players, actually.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for XellOs, he did have a later armory than usual. His Aliens wasn't able to morph into Hellbats, and I think Lings were able to dish out quite a bit of damage before they were morphed into Hellbats.
Yeah, that's right. And at some point of that engagement, it was really unpredictable who would be winning off that exchange, but nothing too significant there. But I think if XellOs really played it right, it would deal much damage than that.
Yep, that is true. I think we do have a new follower here. Thank you, Dash, for following. Hope you're enjoying the show matches here.
Yeah. Come on, man. Dash has been playing with you ever since, 6 months, and he just followed. Man, what a friend, man. What a friend.
Yep. Oh, but I think that's his new Twitch account, I believe.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we have a side bam as well. Joining him in the new followers. Thanks for the follows, man.
Yeah, the bootcamp people of the Philippines. Anyway, 1-1 upgrades is now halfway done onto the side of Scruffy. However, onto the side of XellOs, +1 attack is already completed, up and running. Here comes the medevac. Would be clearing up some creep here. Would be able to snipe one queen and safely get the hell out of there. Yeah, but I think at this point, if I'm the Terran player, because I played both races, right? Since he did not do significant damage earlier on, I think this Zerg would go out of control anytime now.
Yeah, I think I would have preferred if Scruffy were to be going a little bit more aggressively after holding the Hellbat push pretty well there. I think it's still fine. He does have his fire done, and with all he's making up, he will have a lot of mech control.
Yeah. And even though despite that early scare onto the side of XellOs, this creep spread is not that aggressively pushed across the map, considering that Beckett has a really small rush distance. But anyway, here comes the multiple drops onto the side of XellOs. Scruffy would be reacting to it accordingly. However, onto the main, the Mutalisks are the only one defending here, but not enough Marines to actually scare them away. Because usually when you have those Mutalisks, you tend to be like attack and then go back, right? But that time, Scruffy has had enough, clearing out that pressure once again.
Yep.
So, okay.
Yep.
So at this point of the game, it's already 9 minutes. Already been to the mid-game status. I think I would call this still an equal game for both of them, since Scruffy is really not droning up that heavily. So what would you like to see from both of our team players?
Yeah, I definitely would have preferred if Scruffy got an extra just 15 more drones. And yeah, his Mutalisks should be out on the map as well, just trying to poke and prod to kill any exposed mineral lines. Unfortunately, he is going to be getting pushed right now.
Yeah. This is a very hard engagement for Scruffy, especially for that little choke points. And usually at this point in time, you only have siege tanks, but XellOs is getting a little bit balls here, even adding some liberators to add to this massive Terran push, ladies and gentlemen. But here comes the counterattack onto the side of XellOs, but the missile turrets are ready to defend that natural. This Mutalisks are buying every time that they can, ladies and gentlemen, as Scruffy is significantly down in supply. 153 to 134 is the supply now, 10 minutes into the game. And things are looking a bit dire here, since this is a very good anchor position for the Terran to mount his push. And you know what's really bad for him is that this Mutalisk, they're buying time, right? But usually when you have this amount of Mutalisk, is they do significant damage too, but he can't seem to find any damage as of this point, ladies and gentlemen.
And I think the Terran push from XellOs is actually looking pretty scary as he inches each tanks every single time he has the space to.
Here comes the massive concave onto the side of Scruffy, but no Bane speed as of the moment. Oh my goodness, and I think we could see the first win going on onto the side of Team Korea here. This is just a big advantage to be handled by Scruffy as of this point, ladies and gentlemen. But I would like to commend our Korean player. Is he's still really playing very disciplined here. Not just engaging onto the creep, still playing it slow, still playing it methodically at of this point.
And I think unfortunately Scruffy was floating a little bit of resources there.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a big block of Mutalisks to be able to punish the mineral lines, because they were defended with the missile turrets here.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for that critical mass, because I think that is... Alright, I'll be using your camera again. What is up and hello guys, it's your boy Malopate back at it again for the Team Philippines Singapore Select versus Team Korea. So to introduce our players onto the bottom left corner of Oxide LE with the 1-0 advantage, we've got the Blue Terran, XellOs. And onto the upper right corner, fighting for his tournament lives, basically, we've got the Red Zerg from Singapore. We've got Scruffy. Well, what are your insights? What are your takeaways on that first game, Nameless?
Yep, I think Scruffy does have a pretty solid early game, because just based on how he held very heavy pressure coming from XellOs, I think he does have a very strong early game. But I think he do need to have a better macro, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I don't think we are going to be getting a macro game here.
Yeah, this is a very popular build on Oxide, is that the very early roach pressure, since it's really hard to defend as a Terran here. But XellOs would be getting an idea of what is coming to him anytime now, as the SCV scout would be scouting that there would be no second base whatsoever.
Yeah, I think one of the main problems with this build, this Ravager build, is if it gets scouted, it's so much weaker. It's usually to punish Terran players that doesn't SCV scout. It is going to get scouted right away by XellOs.
It would be immediately scouted here by our Korean players, and bunkers are now being built onto his base. And this is the right reaction as of the moment, still getting that security reaper to get more map control, to get more information. But now the Roach Warren is up and running, and roaches are now being in production here. Factory being built. And here comes the rest of the links to maybe poke away a little bit here. But for me as a Terran, I think he doesn't need to get that reactor. He just needs to pump out constant Marines, and that is what he's doing right now.
I think so far perfect reaction from XellOs. I think he knows what he is facing.
Yeah.
Really like his reaction.
And I think Scruffy had a little bit of misplays there, because for me, I'd like, if I'm doing this build, I like to build my Ravagers when I'm near the Terran base, because it really delays you more a little bit. I think because he morphed his Ravagers onto his base, a siege tank would be ready available once he is already here.
Yeah, but I actually think the Ravagers have faster movement speed than...
maybe, yeah.
Ravagers earlier.
but the Cyclone would be the name of the game here onto the side of XellOs. No siege tank as of yet, and maybe we can expect a Banshee since the starport is near its completion, ladies and gentlemen. But 4 Ravagers, I think this would be enough to burst down and give some damage onto this bunker. But the constant repairs onto the side of XellOs is just on point, ladies and gentlemen. But as I am saying that, the supply depot is burst down. 1 Ravager goes down too. And here comes the Cyclone. And even using this Reaper to box out.
Oh no.
Oh my god, this is disastrous. This is disastrous for our Singaporean Zerg. Getting that lock on onto that damage Ravager, but 1 hit. It does not go down, but still no second hatch here. Onto the side of Scruffy. And Cloak Banshee. Yeah, this is the right. This is the right. This is the right call here. If I am the Korean Terran. Yeah. And pretty much as of this point, he is Scruffy is all in now.
Yeah, I have to agree as well. He just doesn't have the drone to macro up. This is his last effort to try to gain back the game. But I think he is on a timer because there is siege tank as well as Banshees on the way.
Yeah, but this Cyclone has just been picking off Ravagers, and I think that is what is limiting the power of this push here. Almost getting that one once again, but good micro. Oh my goodness! And here comes the Banshee. So this is pretty much an all-in already, as the Banshees has come and mixed into the fray. And finally that bunker goes down, but at what cost? I think it's this game.
Yep, I have to agree as well. I think that his game doesn't have any drones at all. I don't think he could get a second hedge because of the Banshees.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a valiant effort here onto the side of Scruffy, but good reactions, and especially if you're playing in the Korean server for such a long time, I think you've encountered a lot of these shenanigans already. And the final round. Oh.
No
Final Ravager goes down.
Yep. I think we do have a lot of overlords flying across the map as well.
Yeah.
If XellOs does have his Marine and Cyclone ready to pick them off, that will be a devastating loss for Scruffy.
Yeah, I think he would be significantly supply blocked for a very long time, and especially if you are on a low draw count, you would be forcing to shell out more minerals on those lost overlords. But I think only 2 would fall down here. But the Banshees would be spotting their immediate position as of the moment.
But I think with this push coming from XellOs, I think it's gonna be game-ending damage here.
Yeah. Right on cue coming in from Nameless as Scruffy falls down 0-2, and XellOs is getting that clean sweep for our first game for our Philippines-Singapore Select versus Team Korea.